Well, good morning, everyone, from the UK. I believe it's the afternoon there in Dubai at the moment. Today, I'm going to be taking you through the requirements for the CAT testing, Cat4 testing for the KHDA National Agenda Parameter. This will be a very, very brief overview of what Cat4 is, and then a delve down into the details of the requirements for testing, and then what you need to do to administer those tests. So with no further ado, we are GL Education. Hopefully you already know about us, but we provide assessments to schools all over the world, and they'll all be using them to improve teaching and learning. Our assessments consist of 3 different types, Cat4 being the one that assesses potential. Then we also have assessments to assess attainment, as well as potential barriers to learning. And that works all together to hopefully improve teaching and learning at the school. What is Cat4? If you're not already familiar with it, it is an assessment of reasoning that helps identify pupils' developed abilities and likely academic potential. So there are indicators in there to help you work towards that. What does it consist of? There are 4 batteries: the verbal reasoning, quantitative reasoning, non-verbal reasoning, and spatial reasoning. For those of you with students with English as a second language, the verbal reasoning may be a little bit trickier for them, but the other 3 batteries should not present a problem. For more information about Cat4, there's some links on this page here to help you get familiar with it. You can also contact your account manager or our customer service team, and they will also be happy to take you through it. To learn more about how to use the data that's provided through the CAT tests, we have some courses running in Dubai at the beginning of October as part of the IPSEF conference. So I do urge you to try and go to those events if you can. So that's enough about the details of Cat4. Now we're going to go on to the details of the testing specifically. So what's required for this year is that the tests are completed between now, essentially, and the 2nd of November. For those schools running the CBSE courses, your testing period started on the 3rd of April. For all other schools, your testing period started on the 1st of September. Here is details of the levels to be tested. So that's grades, year groups, and age ranges detailed there. A couple of caveats to this. The KHDA have advised that any students who were tested within those cohorts who were CAT tested last year will not need to test again this year. For students who didn't test last year, they will need to be tested this year. So keep that in mind when gauging how many licenses you will require for testing this year. For students with special educational needs, officially, all of those students are to be included in the CAT testing. However, if you have any specific concerns about particular students who may not be able to cope with it, do get in touch with the KHDA and talk this through with them. If you haven't already, once you've decided how many tests, how many children you will need to be testing this year, do get in touch with us, and we will make sure that you have those licenses available to you so you're ready to start testing as soon as possible. Now, if you're new to the Testwise, the process is fairly straightforward for you. So once you've confirmed how many licenses you need, we'll then be sending you information about how to get into our Testwise system, and also asking you to complete a data sharing agreement. This basically allows us to analyse your data and also share that analysis with KHDA. The next thing you'll need to do is prepare your CSV file to get your student records into Testwise. If you use a management information system, the company that provides it may already have a report available to you that you can take from your MIS system rather than you having to start from scratch to complete those records. So do get in touch with them just in case. The next thing we'd recommend is you check the minimum technical requirements There's a link to these here, and I'll go into a little bit more detail about that later, but that's essentially to make sure you can test without issue. If you have any queries, of course, get in touch with us, and we will be able to help you work through those. For those already using Testwise, there is some housekeeping that we would recommend you undertake prior to testing this year, or once you've completed testing, if not. The first is, if you use Cat4 for admissions at the moment, we would urge you to make sure you're keeping your records up to date, as this makes life a lot easier in future. So if you have students testing who do not go on to join the school, then make sure you archive those records as soon as you have that confirmed. For students who do go on to join the school, if you are using a different reference number or identifier, which I'll go through in a moment, for those students, make sure you update that to what it would be for current students in the school, if that needs to be changed. In terms of the user accounts, so this isn't the student access, this is the staff access. Obviously, it being a new academic year, and there will be a movement of staff, do make sure that you are updating those records and archiving records for those staff who have moved on. Obviously, this could be a data protection risk if you allow that access to continue to be live. We also ask that you update your email addresses in Testwise, so we can make sure that any information we need to get across to you does go through to the correct email account. So going back to the unique identifier, which you should already be aware of as part of the student records. With the new Testwise system, this will now be the single reference that the system will use to identify each student in your records. So we will be talking shortly about how to update these records. If you have that reference up to date and in line with the rest of your systems, this will make your life a lot easier. In terms of the parameters for the unique identifier, ideally it should start with a letter, if possible, but if not, we ask that you please do not start it with a 0, as this, when the records get exported into a CSV file, that 0 will be removed, hence creating a different unique identifier when you put those records back into Testwise. So it's quite important that you keep that in mind. Now, to update your student records, there's a few steps that you will need to go through. The first one is to archive your leavers. Again, we're at a new academic year, so there will probably be some students on your records who are no longer with the school, whether that be because they're a class that has now moved on, or individual students within year groups who have also moved on. So you can sort through your records on Testwise using the group and year columns to do a bulk archive of those records, or you can search by individual names to identify those records. We also ask that you check for duplicates. So there may be some instances where a student exists in your records more than once. We ask that you check which one of those records you should be keeping based on what's recorded against that particular record, and you can check that in the activity log. And once you have identified which record you don't need to keep, that record can then be archived. So that should leave you with one set of student records per child. We also ask at this point that you check the unique identifier. Obviously, I've taken you through the importance of this. If you need to update that, do go through your student records and individually edit as necessary. Once you've gone through those 3 steps, we then ask that you export your student lists and get your data up to date in line with what's required for the reporting to the KHDA. So the first step of this, and here's a nice little graphic which hopefully details it in more easier terms to digest. There are certain columns with an asterisk. So these columns are required, as you'd imagine. The first name, last name, unique identifier, date of birth and gender are all required fields. For the date of birth, we ask that be in UK date format. For gender, either enter male or female. Then for group and year, the year, obviously enter in there whether you use grades or year groups, whatever means something to you. Then for the group, we would recommend, for ease of identifying groups of students, is that you enter either a tutor group or a class name in this column. Going on from there, this is where we need to be quite particular about what we're asking you to enter in here. So we have two fields there, the external reference and the free school meals. These obviously are normally used by UK schools, so you can enter other information in these fields if you wish to. Just do not change the header column. In ethnic group, instead of entering ethnic group in here, we ask that you enter nationality. So when we say nationality, we mean British rather than England or UK, or Emirati rather than UAE or Abu Dhabi. In the SEN column, and also the same for the English as a second language, we ask for a simple yes or no in that column. The custom one column is available for you to use as you see fit. So some schools will enter additional references in here, the date that the child joined the school, if they want to analyse their data using that. There are a number of options. If you have any questions about those, do let us know. In the custom two fields, this is quite specific. In here, we ask that you enter either Emirati, if the child is Emirati, or other, if they are of another nationality. If you have any questions about this, do let us know. Once you've completed updating your CSV file according to these parameters, do remember to save it somewhere, as this is what we'll need to update the records in Testwise. To get those records up to date in Testwise, you simply have to go to Students, click on the Import Students button, browse to your CSV file, and then import once you're happy that all the details there are correct. You will get, I put a little image up there, a little report from the system of what it's going to do based on what you've put in there. If that looks correct, go ahead to import. If it does not, then just cancel, go back, edit your CSV file, and then try again. Once that's complete, you will receive an email to confirm that all those updates have now gone through. If you have any issues, again, do get in touch with us. So just a little bit more detail about why we require that specific data in the CSV file against your student records. This are some examples of some of the overview reports you will receive after CAT testing is complete. One of them is a group analysis by Emirati and other nationality, and then a group analysis by nationality using the top nationalities in your school. So if you do not enter this data against your student records, obviously these sections of the report will not be as useful to you or the inspectors, in fact, as they could be. So do make sure that you're keeping that up to date. Just a quick note about duplicate student records. I touched on this earlier. If you do find that you have duplicate records with equal or similar amounts of testing on them that you would like to be merged into the same record, this is something we can do, but it is something we will be waiting for the testing to be complete before we undertake this exercise for you, simply because we do not want to disrupt testing while it's in progress. The importance of having those that testing data all on the same records is that it will enable you to have the year-on-year progress if you're using our progress tests. And also there are the combination reports that you can get for Cat4 and progress tests, which again, you won't be able to get that information if the testing data exists on separate records. So once testing is complete, we will take you through how to get those records merged together so you can get the full suite of reporting. Now, once you've got your student records up to date, it's time to create your test sittings. So once you know the dates that you're going to be doing the testing, you can go in and set up those sittings for those tests as soon as you're ready. It looks like a lot of steps from this diagram, but it's actually pretty straightforward. There's a wizard in Testwise that will take you through how to do this. A couple of things to note. When you add the sitting, put in a sitting name that means something to you. Because if you're testing a lot of different groups at around the same time, you'll want something that will help you easily identify which group is which from there. Obviously, you have to select the test level that they will be testing on. So obviously that may well dictate the groups that you sort them into. And once you've added that, you can then choose the dates from which the tests will be available. Now, once that's been set up, you can add individuals to that sitting. So again, if you've entered information against the group and the year columns in your CSV file, this will make life a whole lot easier at this stage. Now, you have two options for how to start the tests. You can have an automatic test start, so that means they will be available from the date you have entered previously. So as soon as the student logs in, they will be able to start testing. Or you can make sure that children cannot start testing until you've actually manually started the test. So you have two options there. So just remember which one you've chosen once you actually start. For actually sitting the tests, once those sittings have been created, you can go into Actions in the Sitting screen against the sitting you've created, and from there you can either download the access codes for the students in a PDF format, which will come through in some cards that can be cut up and given out to students, or you can download it into an Excel file, which obviously gives you a little bit more flexibility as how you would deliver those codes to students. Some schools may mail merge them into emails for older students, for example. In terms of taking the test, children will need to access the link that we can see on the screen there, and in there they will enter their access code. That will then take them through to the CAT testing screen, where you can see the three separate sessions of testing there. And once they've finished testing and gone through all those different sections, they then log out, and that's them complete. In terms of administering the tests, here's some indications of the time needed for testing. They are timed tests, but you will need some time for setup as well. So we've included some approximate times in there for what you will need to allow for. In terms of the rest of the information you'll need, we do, again, make sure you have checked the minimum technical requirements, which I'll come back to in a second. Make sure you provide a computer or a laptop, headphones, and a mouse, all in good working order to prevent any issues when you actually start testing. Also, remember to provide some rough paper and pencils for the number analogies and number series tests. And primarily, we would like you to become familiar with the full administration instructions, which I've included a link to on that page there. Once testing is underway, you can go in and check the progress of the tests by going into the sitting screen on Testwise and clicking on the progress button relevant to the sitting that's underway. I do want to stress there that there is a closed sitting. Once you get through to that progress screen and you can see what's happening, there is a button that says closed sitting. Do not press this button unless you want to stop students testing. So basically, don't press that button, is what I'm saying. In terms of the minimum technical requirements, we don't want anything to scupper your testing once you're underway, once you've got it scheduled in. So do make sure you check these and share these with your technicians prior to testing taking place. The main things to check are the browsers that are being used. Generally, the more up to date it is, the better. Make sure that the websites that will need to be accessed have been whitelisted, so there'll be nothing preventing students accessing those or you accessing those. We also ask that you check the pop-up blockers and screen resolution to ensure that the tests run as smoothly as possible at the time. If you need further support, whether that be technical or to do with Cat4 itself, we have a dedicated web page which has oodles of resources, and will also have the details of this webinar on it. Our technical support teams are now available on Sundays from 5:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. and then Monday to Friday, that's UK time, so that would be later in the morning for you guys, and then Monday, Friday, it will be 5:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. UK time. There's the contact details there below, and then similarly we have the contact details there for Cat4 support and Testwise support. I'd also like to draw your attention to the main dates that you should get in your diaries now. So obviously the CAT testing opened on the 1st of September and will close on the 2nd of November. If you have previously CAT tested, on the 17th of September, the overview report from the previous year will be available to you through your Testwise account. Just go through to the report screen and navigate to the KHDA labelled tests, reports even. On the 18th of September, we are going to be in Dubai for some Testwise training workshops, going into a little bit more detail about Testwise than we have done today. So if you would like to attend those, they are absolutely free. There is a morning and an afternoon session on the 18th, so please do register and come along. On the 3rd of October, I've already drawn your attention to the workshops that we're running at IPSEF Dubai. These are really, really useful to help you decipher the data that you will get through CAT testing and how to use that to improve teaching and learning at your school. So they're absolutely invaluable. On the 9th of November, we will be releasing the overview report for your CAT testing for this year, once the window has closed. And then on the 18th of November, we'll also be sending out your executive summary reports of the main information that you would like to know about the CAT testing for this year.